course, none of this would be possible without the incredible support system I built around this brand. It takes a singular vision to guide a project like this to success. Leo's voice, amplified by the hotel ballroom speakers, washed over the gala audience. On stage, a single blue spotlight glinted off the heavy crystal award in his hand, a blinding star of his own making. The camera feed showed his face on the giant screens, a perfect mask of humble gratitude. Server leaned in, whispering, asking if I needed another glass of champagne. "No, thank you," I said, my voice even. "I believe the show is over." I met Leo at a weekend workshop on narrative design 5 years ago. He had the kind of effortless charisma that made you want to lean in to be part of whatever story he was telling. I had the ideas, stacks of them, meticulously researched but trapped in notebooks. We were the perfect combination. He was the voice, I was the architecture. Our first good memory was a 2 a.m. brainstorming session over takeout ramen, sketching out the entire first season of our podcast, The Urban Almanac, on a dozen stained napkins. We were going to build something that mattered. The first red flag was a small one, easily missed. When our first feature ran in a local design blog, my name was omitted. He was listed as the sole creator. "It's an oversight," he'd said, his apology so smooth and charming that I felt foolish for even bringing it up. A simple mistake. The first 2 years were our golden period. We landed a Squarespace sponsorship, then a bigger one from a high-end audio company. We moved from my apartment into a shared studio in a converted warehouse, the kind of place with exposed brick and ridiculously high rent. We celebrated with expensive whiskey, toasting to our future. The division of labor felt natural. I handled the content pipeline, the research, the editing, and the finances. Leo handled the public-facing side, the interviews, the networking events, the schmoozing. "You're so much better with the details, Zara," he'd say, flashing that brilliant smile. I need to keep my head in the clouds, focused on the big picture. The imbalance grew so slowly I barely noticed. I was giving my nights and weekends. He was taking networking trips to Miami and Austin. His expense reports became vague collections of receipts from lavish dinners and boutique hotels, all justified as brand building. I rationalized it. He was the talent. Talent needed to be cultivated. The discovery began with a single, odd transaction. It was 3 a.m., and I was reconciling our QuickBooks account. A payment for $8,500 to a vendor I'd never heard of. Lions Share Ventures. The invoice number was just a string of random digits. I told myself it was for a consultant he forgot to mention, but a knot of unease tightened in my gut. A quick search of the state's corporate database revealed Lions Share Ventures was a single-member LLC. The registered agent and sole owner was Leo. It was a shell company. The tone of my life shifted in that instant. My quiet investigation began. I spent the next 6 weeks living a double life. By day, I was his collaborative partner. By night, I became a forensic accountant. Hired a real one, a sharp woman named Ms. Vance, who walked me through pulling server logs and cross-referencing bank transfers. The betrayal widened with every file I opened. It wasn't just the $8,500. It was a steady siphoning of our revenue, nearly $130,000 over 18 months, funneled into his personal account to finance a life I was funding, but not living. The final blow came when Ms. Vance uncovered a chain of emails. He was pitching a solo project to a rival network, using our intellectual property, my research, my episode structures, as his own. The breaking point arrived not in our studio, but in the sterile, glass-walled conference room of a potential network buyer. You had insisted I come, to handle any in-the-weeds questions. He introduced me to the executives, Mr. Peterson and Ms. Yang, as his hard-working producer. They smiled politely at me before turning all their attention and all their questions to him. I was a prop. After the meeting, in the sterile quiet of the hallway, I finally confronted him. He didn't even have the grace to look ashamed. "Let's be realistic, Zara," he said, his voice laced with a kind of weary condescension. "I'm the talent, you're the support staff. This brand is my face, my voice. Without me, the Urban Almanac is just a folder of well-organized research notes. It was the pity in his eyes that did it. The look he gave me, as if I were a child who simply couldn't grasp the adult world. In that frozen moment, the plan began to form. I remembered a tiny detail from the meeting, the pitch deck he'd presented. It was printed on a specific, heavyweight cardstock with a subtle linen finish, a brand he'd wanted for our business cards. I'd vetoed it as an unnecessary expense. He had bought it anyway, with my money, to sell my work out from under me. My new team consisted of Ms. Vance and a brilliantly methodical IP attorney named Mr. Sterling. The legal fees were terrifying, but Sterling, after seeing the mountain of evidence, agreed to a partial contingency. He had 6 weeks until the Digital Vanguard Awards, where Leo was the frontrunner for Innovator of the Year. We worked methodically. The close call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Leo came back to the studio unexpectedly while I was on a video call with Sterling, my screen shared, displaying the shell company's bank statements. I slammed my laptop shut a half-second before he rounded the corner, my heart hammering against my ribs. He just smiled, oblivious, and asked if I'd ordered lunch. The evidence was irrefutable. We had 47 separate wire transfers to Lions Share Ventures. We had the LLC incorporation documents. Had server logs timestamped to show I had authored and uploaded over 90% of the creative content. We had the email chain with the rival network. And we had one beautiful, ironic coincidence. The registered address for his shell company was the same as the luxury watch boutique he'd dragged me to months earlier, claiming he was just browsing for inspiration. The final piece was the trap. Sterling drafted a partnership dissolution agreement. Looked simple, offering Leo a generous buyout to take full ownership of the brand. Buried in the standard boilerplate was a single clause, a declaration under penalty of perjury that he had disclosed all business-related assets and entities. He would see it as his ticket to freedom. I saw it as the lock on his cage. The night of the Digital Vanguard Awards was a blur of flashing cameras and clinking glasses. I found Leo at the main bar, preening for a small crowd of admirers. Looked surprised to see me. "Leo, I need you to sign the dissolution papers tonight," I said, my voice a calm island in the sea of noise. His eyes lit up with arrogant triumph. He thought I was finally giving up broken. He barely glanced at the document, scrawling his signature on the last page with a flourish. "This is for the best, Zara. You'll see." He patted my arm and walked away, heading toward the stage where his award and his downfall awaited. His acceptance speech was a masterpiece of self-aggrandizement. Then, as he held the award aloft, the ceremony's director, a man I'd met with the week before, cued the technical difficulty. The massive screens behind Leo flickered. Instead of a highlight reel of his work, a simple graphic appeared. A flowchart showing wire transfers from the Urban Almanac's business account to Lions Share Ventures. The dates, the exact dollar amounts, all of it. A confused murmur rippled through the audience. The next slide, a high-resolution scan of the dissolution agreement he had signed less than an hour ago. His signature was magnified, next to the highlighted perjury clause. The final slide was a simple line of text, evidence package forwarded to the Digital Vanguard Awards Committee and all brand sponsors at 9:14 p.m. Leo stood frozen on stage, a deer in the glare of 1,000 headlights. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. I was already walking toward the exit. As I passed the side of the stage, he saw me, his face a mask of disbelief and rage. "You ruined me," he hissed, his voice a raw whisper. I stopped and looked at him, truly looked at him for the last time. "No, Leo, I just turned on the lights." The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Industry blogs lit up with the story by morning. The award was publicly rescinded. Our sponsors invoked the morality clauses in their contracts and pulled their funding. I phone buzzed for 24 hours straight with calls from former friends and colleagues, some offering support, others demanding an explanation. I ignored them all. The legal battle was short. Faced with irrefutable proof of fraud and perjury, Leo settled. He had to liquidate everything to pay back the $128,400 he had stolen, plus damages and my legal fees. He lost the brand, the social media handles, the studio, everything. 6 months later, a mutual acquaintance sent me a photo, thinking it would make me laugh. It was Leo, working behind the counter at a Starbucks in a suburban strip mall, wearing a green apron stained with coffee. The forced customer service smile didn't reach his hollow eyes. I didn't laugh. I just deleted the picture. My new life is quieter. I rebranded, launching a smaller creative consultancy called Almanac Labs. My new office is a third of the size but has a window overlooking a park. The work is harder without a charismatic frontman, but it's honest, and it's all mine. Last week I was meeting with a potential new collaborator. She looked across the table, her eyes bright with ideas, and asked, "So what's your vision for this?" It takes a singular vision to guide a project, and for the first time it was entirely my own.